Scene script. Picture this. You're at a wedding and who shows up uninvited? No, not your ex, but the Minister of Magic himself. Imagine you're at Bill and Fleur's wedding, all decked out in your finest wizarding robes. The cake has been cut, the goblin-made tiaras are sparkling, and just when you think you can finally let loose and show off your best dance moves to the Weird Sisters tunes, in walks Rufus Scrimgeour, the Minister of Magic himself. Talk about a party pooper, eh? Now, Scrimgeour isn't there to bust a move on the dance floor. Oh no. He's there on official business. You see, he's got something special to deliver. Dumbledore's last will and testament. And let's just say, Dumbledore wasn't the kind to leave behind a boring old will. No, he had to add his own magical twist. So, let's talk about these unusual parting gifts, shall we? First up, we have Ron, who gets Dumbledore's Deluminator. It's not your typical wedding favour, but then again, Dumbledore was never one for tradition. This nifty little device, perfect for extinguishing the lights when you want to sneak out for a midnight snack, is just Dumbledore's way of saying, Ron, you light up my life, but sometimes you need to dim it down a bit. Next up, Hermione. She gets a copy of The Tales of Beedle the Bard. It's not exactly a page-turner, but hey, it's the thought that counts. It's Dumbledore's subtle way of telling Hermione, you're the brightest witch of your age, but there's always room for more knowledge. And then, there's Harry. Poor confused Harry. He gets the golden snitch from his first Quidditch match. It's a bit like getting socks for Christmas, isn't it? But in true Dumbledore fashion, there's more to this gift than meets the eye. So, next time you're at a wedding, remember, it could always be worse. You could get an unexpected visit from the Minister of Magic. Ever heard of a children's story that involves death, betrayal, and powerful artifacts? Welcome to bedtime stories in the wizarding world. So, here's the deal. There were once 3 wizard brothers who, being clever chaps, conjured a bridge to cross a treacherous river. Death, feeling a bit cheated, decided to play a cunning game. He offered each brother a gift, pretending it was a prize for their cleverness. The eldest brother, a chap who was a bit too fond of dueling for his own good, asked for a wand that would beat all others. Death, not one to do things by halves, snapped off a branch from an elder tree and crafted the Elder Wand. Now, the Elder Wand was no ordinary piece of magical hardware. It was a wand that had the magical equivalent of a "kick me" sign on it, getting passed around faster than a hot potato at a wizarding barbecue. The middle brother, who was a bit of a downer, asked for the power to bring loved ones back from the dead. So Death plucked a stone from the river and gave it to him, calling it the Resurrection Stone. But just like that friend who overstays their welcome, the resurrected weren't quite the same and didn't really fit in. Finally, the youngest brother, who was a bit wiser and perhaps a tad more paranoid than his siblings, asked for a way to hide from Death himself. So Death, probably rolling his ethereal eyes, handed over his own cloak of invisibility. The youngest brother was the only one who lived a full life and passed the cloak onto his son before greeting Death like an old friend. And that's the tale of the 3 brothers for you. It's a story about the dangers of power, the futility of trying to cheat Death, and the importance of a good invisibility cloak. And that, my friends, is why you should always be careful what you wish for, especially if what you wish for is a cloak, a stone, and a wand. Scene script. Have you ever had a bad day at work? Well, let me tell you about Harry and his friend's day at the ministry. Picture this. You're Harry Potter, the chosen one, and you've decided to infiltrate the most heavily guarded magical institution in Britain. Your ingenious plan? Disguise yourself and your best mates as ministry employees. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, not quite. First off, there's Ron, dear lovable Ron. He's disguised as Reg Catamol, a rather nondescript fellow who, unbeknownst to our heroes, is in quite a bit of hot water with his boss. So, instead of stealthily sneaking around, Ron spends the majority of his time trying to fix a magical weather problem in the office. Talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Then there's Hermione, the brightest witch of her age, struggling to keep her magical handbag under control. It's not just any handbag, mind you. This thing is undetectable extension charm to its gills, filled to the brim with essentials for their mission. But it seems Hermione might have overpacked just a tad. The bag's causing more trouble than it's worth, bopping unsuspecting ministry workers on the head and generally causing a ruckus. And let's not forget Harry, who's supposed to be the mastermind behind this operation, fumbling through the ministry as Runcorn, a towering and intimidating ministry official. He's trying to keep a low profile, but let's just say subtlety isn't exactly his strong suit. Despite the mishaps, the trio manages to snag what they came for, but not without attracting some unwanted attention. Suddenly, they're in a wild chase through the ministry, dodging spells and Death Eaters at every turn. It's a high-stakes game of magical cat and mouse that would give even the bravest wizard a run for their galleons. So, the next time you're having a rough day at the office, just remember, at least you're not being chased by Death Eaters through the Ministry of Magic. They say school reunions can be a nightmare, but Harry's takes the cake. I mean, not even a decent buffet, just a full-blown battle of Hogwarts. Talk about a party crasher. Voldemort really knows how to ruin a good time. Now, we all remember Neville Longbottom, right? The lovable, clumsy chap who could barely keep his toad Trevor on a leash. Well, it seems Hogwarts did wonders for our boy. He's gone from misplacing his remember-all to beheading giant snakes with ancient swords. I guess that's Hogwarts' version of a glow-up. And speaking of glow-ups, let's not ignore the elephant in the room, or should I say, the Dark Lord in the room. Voldemort, you've got to admire his determination. I mean, he's been trying to kill Harry since he was a baby. Some might call it an unhealthy obsession, but I like to think of it as a very intense game of hide-and-seek. But let's give credit where credit is due. Voldemort, despite his many flaws, really knows how to rally a crowd. I mean, have you ever tried to organize a group of Death Eaters? It's like herding cats. Evil, murderous cats. But he managed it. Hats off to him. Now, back to the action. Harry, Ron, and Hermione, our intrepid trio, are doing what they do best. Getting into dangerous situations and somehow managing to get out of them. It's like they have a knack for it or something. And then there's the moment we've all been waiting for. Harry and Voldemort, face to face, wands at the ready. It's like the world's deadliest game of rock, paper, scissors. Only instead of rock, paper, scissors, it's wand, spell, Horcrux. And in the end, who comes out on top? Our boy Harry, of course. But let's not forget Neville, who really stole the show with his snake beheading skills. Talk about a plot twist. And that's why you should always SVP to your school reunion. You never know when you might need to save the world. Well, that was a roller coaster. Let's take a moment to catch our breath and remember the important lessons here. Firstly, Harry's story is a prime example of why one should never gatecrash weddings. Just imagine, if Harry had politely declined the Weasleys' wedding invitation, he would have saved himself a whole lot of trouble. Always remember, folks, RSVPing is key. Next, let's not forget the tale of three brothers. It's a classic children's story, but with a twist that would make the brothers Grimm blush. The moral of the story: if death offers you a gift, maybe consider a polite no thank you. Then, there was the Great Escape. Remember, folks, always have a dragon at hand for those tricky office getaways. Nothing says I quit like a fire-breathing beast. And finally, the school reunion. It's all fun and games until Voldemort shows up. Always be prepared for the unexpected. So there you have it, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, where weddings, children's stories, office days, and school reunions all take a turn for the unexpected.